Have you ever wondered how a young prince who lost his kingdom as a boy went on to build one of the greatest empires in the history of South Asia? This is the remarkable story of Zahiruddin Muhammad Babur, the warrior poet, fearless conqueror, and founder of the mighty Mughal Empire. His life was filled with battles, ambition, heartbreak, exile, love, and dreams of greatness. From the mountains of Central Asia to the plains of India, Babur's journey became one of the most dramatic stories in history. This is for people who want to improve their English listening with a calm story. Babur was born on February 14, 1483, in the city of Andijan in the Fergana Valley of present-day Uzbekistan. He was born into royalty, but also into a world of danger and political struggle. Babur's bloodline was extraordinary. On his father's side, he was a descendant of the great conqueror Timur, also known as Tamerlane, the powerful ruler who had built a vast empire across Central Asia and Persia. On his mother's side, Babur was connected to the legendary Mongol ruler Genghis Khan. These ancestors were not ordinary men. They were names that shook kingdoms. From childhood, Babur grew up hearing stories of conquest, courage, and empire. These stories shaped his imagination and ambition. His father, Umar Sheikh Mirza, ruled the small kingdom of Fergana. Babur's mother, Kutlug Nigar Khanum, came from a noble Mongol family and was known for her intelligence and dignity. Babur grew up in royal surroundings, but his childhood was far from peaceful. The region was filled with rival princes, betrayals, shifting alliances, and endless wars. As a child, Babur received a fine education. He learned Persian and Turkish literature, history, poetry, religion, and military skills. Unlike many conquerors, Babur loved books and writing as much as warfare. He would later become famous not only as an emperor, but also as a gifted writer and poet. Even as a young boy, Babur showed intelligence, bravery, and leadership. But tragedy came early. In 1494, when Babur was only 11 years old, his father died suddenly after reportedly falling from a pigeon tower. At an age when most children still depend on protection, Babur suddenly became ruler of Fergana. The young prince entered a ruthless world. Many nobles doubted him because of his age. Enemies surrounded him. Relatives plotted against him. But Babur refused to surrender. He once wrote honestly about his struggles in his famous memoir, the Babur Nama, one of the greatest autobiographies in history. Babur's greatest dream as a young ruler was to capture Samarkand, the magnificent city once ruled by his ancestor Timur. Samarkand was rich, beautiful, and symbolic of glory. At only 15 years old, Babur successfully captured the city after a difficult siege. For a moment, his dream came true. But victory did not last. While Babur celebrated Samarkand, rebels seized Fergana. Soon afterward, Babur lost Samarkand as well. In a short time, he lost both his kingdom and his prize city. The young prince became homeless, wandering with a small group of loyal followers through mountains and harsh lands. These were painful years. Babur faced hunger, betrayal, loneliness, and defeat. Many companions abandoned him, yet these hardships hardened his character. Unlike rulers born into stable empires, Babur learned survival through suffering. He later wrote, "Misfortune and exile strengthen a man." Despite repeated failures, Babur never abandoned his ambition. Eventually, after years of struggle, Babur turned his attention toward Kabul in present-day Afghanistan. In 1504, he successfully captured the city. This became the turning point of his life. Kabul gave Babur a stable base, loyal soldiers, and a chance to rebuild his power. From there, he expanded his influence across Afghanistan and Central Asia. Babur loved Kabul deeply. He admired its gardens, mountains, rivers, and fresh air. Unlike many conquerors, Babur had a sensitive soul. He loved flowers, poetry, music, nature, and conversation. He often described landscapes with emotion and beauty in his writings. Babur was not merely a warrior. He was also a thinker and observer. In his personal life, Babur experienced both affection and sorrow. He married several women, as was common among royalty of his time. Among his wives, Maham Begum became especially important because she was the mother of his famous son and heir, Humayun. Babur's relationships reveal a more emotional side of him. In his memoirs, he openly wrote about his feelings, friendships, admiration for beauty, and even youthful romantic attraction. Historians often note how unusually honest and personal Babur was compared to many rulers. He loved companionship and valued loyalty deeply. Yet ambition always remained at the center of his life. Babur still dreamed of building a great empire worthy of his ancestors. By the early 1500s, political conditions in northern India created opportunity. The Delhi Sultanate under Ibrahim Lodi was weak and unpopular. Several nobles invited Babur to invade India. Babur saw his chance. He had attempted raids into India before, but now he prepared for full conquest. In 1526, Babur marched toward India with a relatively small but highly disciplined army. He brought something important with him: advanced gunpowder weapons and artillery. Then came the historic First Battle of Panipat. Babur faced Ibrahim Lodi's enormous army, which greatly outnumbered his own forces. But Babur was a brilliant military strategist. Using cannons, defensive formations, cavalry tactics, and careful planning, Babur crushed the Sultan's army. Ibrahim Lodi was killed on the battlefield. With this victory, Babur captured Delhi and Agra and laid the foundation of the Mughal Empire in India. The victory changed South Asian history forever, but Babur's struggles did not end there. Powerful Rajput rulers, especially Rana Sanga of Mewar, challenged him fiercely. Babur understood that to survive in India, he had to defeat these warriors. In 1527, at the Battle of Kanwa, Babur again proved his military genius. Despite fierce resistance, he defeated Rana Sanga and secured Mughal authority in northern India. Babur's ambition had finally become reality. The homeless prince from Fergana had become emperor of a vast new empire. Yet Babur's life was not simply about conquest. He remained deeply human. He enjoyed gardens and ordered the creation of beautiful Mughal gardens inspired by Persian designs. He appreciated poetry, literature, architecture, and nature. Even amid war, he found time to write. His memoir, the Babur Nama, remains one of history's most valuable autobiographies because it reveals the thoughts, emotions, victories, fears, and personality of a ruler with unusual honesty. Babur described battles and politics, but also fruits, rivers, weather, friendships, and emotions. This makes him feel alive even centuries later. Babur also loved his children deeply. Among his heirs, the most famous was his son Humayun, whom Babur carefully prepared for leadership. Babur's other sons included Kamran Mirza, Askari Mirza, and Hindal Mirza. According to tradition, when Humayun became seriously ill, Babur prayed to God to take his own life instead of his son's. Legend says Babur walked around Humayun's bed, praying for the illness to transfer to him. Soon afterward, Humayun recovered, while Babur himself became sick. Whether entirely true or partly symbolic, the story reflects Babur's deep love for his son. On December 26, 1530, Babur died at the age of 47 in Agra. Before his death, he advised Humayun wisely about ruling fairly and treating people with justice. Babur was first buried in Agra, but according to his wishes, his body was later moved to Kabul, the city he loved most. After Babur's death, Humayun succeeded him as emperor. Though Humayun struggled initially, Babur's grandson Akbar the Great would later transform the Mughal Empire into one of the richest and most powerful empires in the world. Thus, Babur's legacy lived far beyond his own lifetime. Today, Babur is remembered not only as a conqueror, but as a unique historical figure, a warrior with the heart of a poet. He once wrote, "Conquered kingdoms may disappear, but written words remain forever." And indeed, centuries later, Babur's words, dreams, and empire still echo through history. He began life as a boy king surrounded by enemies. He lost everything. He wandered in exile. He fought countless battles. And through courage, ambition, intelligence, and determination, Babur built an empire that would rule India for generations. This is the story of Babur. Hope you practiced English listening today. Let me know whose story you want to listen to next. Do not forget to hit the subscribe and like button.